Today is Columbus Day. It is a celebration of Christopher Columbus, who essentially opened the Americas to European exploration, which, by the way, was a net positive for planet Earth. Okay? Without a doubt. Of course, terrible things happen in the course of any conquest. Terrible things happen in the course of any population movement. Also, very good thing that North America and South America had Western influence in them. And the tribes that predated them on the continent were, in general, quite barbaric. Many of them were engaged in precisely the same kinds of tribal warfare that people all over the planet are engaged in. This sort of attempt to whitewash everybody who's living on these relatively unpopulated continents. I say relatively because, of course, there was a population, but it was certainly not all that large. If you look at person per space in the United States, for example, on the North American continent, is a fairly sparsely populated continent. But the kind of attempt to paint the European West as uniquely evil, Kamala Harris does that kind of stuff. She has said she wants to get rid of Columbus Day in favor of Indigenous Peoples Day. Now, listen, that is an amazing statement. It really is. Are we truly to believe that Kamala Harris, the greatest beneficiary in American life of the existence of European colonization, truly, I mean, she's the vice president of the United States, which began as a European colony. Her up there saying that we shouldn't celebrate Christopher Columbus, that it's like the beneficiary of a penicillin vaccine saying that we should not celebrate the inventors of penicillin. Like that, it's a bizarre notion that she is pushing here. Okay, so this is her back in 2019 saying that we should actually kill off Columbus Day in favor of Indigenous Peoples Day. You could even say that you have critiques for Christopher Columbus on Columbus Day. Of course, that's perfectly fine. No one's arguing that. But to say that instead you want to celebrate the people who were there before, who you would not even have known about, and many of whom were participating in, shall we say, inhumane practices well before Columbus ever discovered the New World. That is something else entirely. Here is Kamala Harris back in 2019. Again, this is her preset. Her preset is wild left.
Would you support efforts on a federal level to change Columbus Day to Indigenous Peoples Day? And why does that matter so much?
Sure. Yeah. And why it matters is, to your very point, we have to remember history. And this question, I think, really is connected to the last question about our morals and our compass and our goals and our aspirations. Yeah. We have to remember our history. Uncomfortable, to your point about truths.
God, she's so awful. She was so awful in 2019. Fast forward a few years, we were told there was a brand new Kamala Harris. Not good. Not good, Bob.
It is an honor, of course, to be with you this week as we celebrate Indigenous Peoples Day, as we speak truth about our nation's history. Since 1934, every October, the United States has recognized the voyage of the European explorers who first landed on the shores of the Americas. But that is not the whole story. That has never been the whole story. Those explorers ushered in a wave of devastation for tribal nations, perpetrating violence, stealing land, and spreading disease. We must not shy away from this shameful past, and we must shed light on it and do everything we can to address the impact of the past on Native communities today.
And that was Kamala Harris in 2021. So the same as a candidate, same as vice president, and same today. She's not a moderate. She was never a moderate. And again, it seems weird to me that the vice president of the United States feels that way about the civilization that has allowed her to be the vice president of the United States. The biggest problem for Kamala Harris is that Kamala Harris exists as a human. That is the biggest problem for her. And there's no way to get around that, which is why she's hiding from the press. Every year when Apple releases the new iPhone, the big carriers play those same old games. Sign your life away for the next few years and get that free iPhone. You don't have to fall for this. With Pure Talk, you can get great savings on the new iPhone 16, and you can still get an affordable data plan that fits your needs on America's most dependable 5G network. How would I know? Well, because I have that new iPhone 16 from Pure Talk. Bottom line, stop falling into the same traps and overpaying for data you're not going to use. With Pure Talk, for just $35 a month, get unlimited talk, text, and 15 gigs of data, plus mobile hotspot on America's most dependable 5G network. Here's the best part. When you switch your cell phone service to Pure Talk on a qualifying plan, you'll get 1 year free of Daily Wire Plus Insider. That's access to the full library of DW Plus movies, series, and documentaries, including Lady Ballers, What is a Woman, Mr. Bertram, and Run, Hide, Fight. Plus, uncensored, ad-free daily shows, 1 year free of our kids' platform, Benki, and your very own free Leftist Tears Tumblr. The only way you can get this special offer is by going to puretalk.com/Shapiro or call and mention my name. Stop overpaying for your cell phone plan. Go to puretalk.com/Shapiro today, switch to a qualifying plan, get 1 year free of Daily Wire Plus Insider. So Time Magazine, which was desperately attempting to spin her into something amazing. She was on the cover of Time Magazine just a couple of months ago as sort of the future. Well, they have an entire 17-minute piece titled, "What Kind of President Would Kamala Harris Be?" There's only one problem. Kamala Harris refused to do the interview. Quote, "When she does do interviews, she mostly favors local media, culture podcasts, or friendly talk shows. Harris declined repeated requests for an interview for this story. In contrast, Trump talked about his policy vision with a Time reporter for 90 minutes across 2 interviews. Biden spoke to Time at similar length before dropping out of the race." So I guess their strategy is to basement her. They're going to run the Joe Biden 2020 basement strategy, not in the middle of COVID, and with a person who's supposedly young and virile. That is the case. Listen, even her surrogates can't defend her at this point. Andy Bashir, who was once considered a vice presidential candidate, he was asked, how will Kamala Harris be different from Joe Biden? He can't answer that question because ain't nobody can answer that question. She cannot answer the most simple question in this campaign. Why are you running? Why? Other than just being there, like Chauncey Gardner, why are you running? Okay, and then the second question, how are you different from the guy who's currently there? Those are the 2 key questions of the campaign. She can't answer either of them, and neither can any of her surrogates. Here's Andy Bashir, the governor of Kentucky.
Do you think she will be different than Joe Biden? What do you think the difference is? She struggled on The View to say anything about anything different, that she would be different.
Well, of course she'll be different because we are all different individuals. But just look at the
policy-wise.
They're right there. Right, but President Biden's plans were about building a future economy that is happening right now. We're building the 2 biggest battery plants on planet Earth in Kentucky. We built the cleanest, greenest recycled paper mill the world's ever seen. Those are all through his policies. But hers are about right now. How do we help the American people that are struggling to pay the bills?
Okay, so that is a non-answer. Thanks for that, Andy. And the biggest problem in this race for Kamala Harris is Kamala Harris, but she's always been bad at every job she's ever taken. This is the thing about Kamala Harris. She keeps failing up. She was originally given a job because she was dating Willie Brown, who was then one of the big political movers and shakers in the state of California, while she was appointed to state-based commissions that paid her a very, very nice salary in the state of California. She never showed up. She didn't go to the meetings. Then, when she became a DA, she tried to challenge her own boss, Terrence Hallinan, for his job. And then when that failed, she moved over to a different segment of the Child Services Unit for the city attorneys. And then she had a performance review, according to Daily Mail over the weekend, and her ratings there stunk as well. On a scale of 1 to 5, Harris only got a 2 on whether she was thorough, helpful, and proactive, and only a 3 on whether she showed good judgment. She also got a 2 rating for recognizing deadlines, fast turnaround, and anticipating their needs. Apparently, she got a 1 for her failure to return phone calls and emails promptly. Not an amazing performance review, according to the UK Daily Mail. She's never been good. She's been an awful vice president. There's a reason that she was the lowest rated vice president in modern American history. There is nothing new here for Kamala Harris. She is a fail of a candidate, and she's a fail of a politician. And it turns out that in American politics, it is quite possible to fail up. What a great country this is.